Hi kind friends, today I'm going to be doing a book review, another one. I'm so excited. This one not in my bathroom. That was funny. If you are interested, you can check out my review of The Crown. I have that up. But today I'm going to be talking about Kindling Flames, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is called Gathering Tinder and the sequel is Flying Sparks. I have finished Gathering Tinder, so I'm going to be basing my review on that, but I haven't finished Flying Sparks yet. I'm like 20% through and I'm loving it. So let's get started. First, I want to let you know that this is a giveaway. It's an international giveaway, so you can click the link below. The giveaway and the video are being brought to you by Loving Dumb Books. I like that name, Loving Dumb Books. She does booktube tours, and I'm participating in this one, so I'm excited about that. So I was able to get the book for free, so I can do a review on it. And now let's get started. So the author is Julie Wetzel, Kindling Flames, Gathering Tinder, and Kindling Flames, Flying Sparks. I like that the covers match. Like they're like very matchy, and like obviously it's like the same image but like tweaked basically. I think that looks pretty cool. If you read the acknowledgements in both of the books, you actually find out it was all one manuscript that was then tweaked to be two because there's kind of a natural division in the stories. And the origin of how this story started, I think, is really cool. Let me just say that before I get into the plot and everything. But Julie, her sister, I think Amanda? Let's see. Yes, Amanda. Her sister Amanda was deployed, and she couldn't get a hand on her fan fiction that she loved, which I can totally relate to because when I'm in a fan fiction mood and I can't find a story that I like, it's really frustrating. I love fan fictions, but well, mostly just Harry Potter fan fiction, honestly. But so Amanda, while she was deployed, couldn't get fan fiction, so her sister Julie, I keep saying jewelry, I'm sorry. Her sister Julie Wetzel started writing a vampire romance and sending it to her while she was deployed, and that's how this manuscript started. And I think that's the coolest story ever. I love the heck out of that. So let me get into the plot. It starts off with a personal assistant, Vicky, and she gets a new job working for Darien Industries. Was it Darien Industries? Darien Ritter, and I believe it's called Ritter Industries. So she starts working for him. He's the CEO of a big company. So Darien keeps going through a whole bunch of personal assistants because nobody can keep up. So he ends up finding Vicky at a temp agency, and she actually meets the snuff. And then, lo and behold, Darien is actually a vampire, and Vicky becomes involved in that world the longer that she's his personal assistant. And then there's a little bit of romance, and it kind of goes from there. So that's the general plot. I think that it was really cute. I'm a big fan of vampire stories, though usually I tend to read young adult. This is a new adult series. I believe there's actually 5 or 6 books in the series, and God, I can't think. The first book is actually a really quick read. It took me a little bit of time. It took me about 2 weeks just because my schedule has been really insane lately, but I feel like most people could read it cover to cover or read it over a course of a weekend. You can actually finish both of these, I believe, over a weekend. It's a very like quick and easy kind of story to digest because, you know, the vampires becoming part of the vampire world, like it's a common plot that you can kind of get into easily and kind of like turn off your brain and just enjoy the story, which sometimes that's what I really need, because while I love books that have kind of like a rich, like more like history where it has like a lot of things going on and like a huge like development of the world and, you know, like those more complicated, rich stories, I really love those. But in between, like those books take me like a month or 2 to read because I just kind of need mental breaks. And in between, I'll read more books like these that are not, my first thought to say was more shallow level, but that's definitely not what I mean because that sounds like a negatory. Like it's more like a popcorn flick, like something that you really just kind of get into over the weekend to turn off your brain and relax. So that's what I really liked about this book series. And the cliffhanger at the end of the first one, I was like, what? I'm so glad I have part 2 because that was just like, I need to know what happens. So big cliffhanger. Now that I'm getting into the sequel is where a lot more of the romance is being taken place, so I'm kind of speeding through this one a lot quicker because I'm like, give me kisses. I need vampire kisses. Like I really like vampire romance. But anyway, what I was saying is that I usually read vampire YA stories, so this one is developing a lot more in a a slower, more realistic, gradual pace, not an instant vampire love attraction, which I actually kind of appreciated more than I thought I would, because I actually don't read many stories other than young adult. I just love young adult fiction. So, great new adult vampire romance. As for the things that I didn't like, I think that Vicky is a little bit too perfect. Like, she's adorable, she's smart, she accepted the vampire world easily, she's like, she's attractive, but not so attractive that she's unapproachable. Like, it's like a mix of too many good things, and she doesn't have many bad qualities that are brought out. So it's almost like I wouldn't say she's a Mary Sue, but it's a light Mary Sue going on, that as the series develops, I hope to get to see more flaws from her, more character development, so that it isn't like just this perfect girl that's being thrown into a vampire scenario. And as for the writing, I do prefer a little bit more kind of like analogies, comparisons, descriptions, things like that. This is more of the kind of like, this happened and then this happened, that person is this person because of this. Like, it's more like a literal like kind of story. I don't know if I'm explaining that really well. Like, rather than saying like, you know, a silence, you know, could be cut through like a knife, a little bit generic, but you know what I'm saying, like the silence in the elevator could be cut with a knife versus there was a long awkward silence in the elevator. Like, I kind of prefer the more flowery comparisons of things and making something feel more alive, where this was more like not cut and dry, but just like, this is what happened and that's what happened. So it's not generally my style of book, but since it's such an easy read and an enjoyable plot, it didn't bother me too much. The only thing that really bothered me was the typos. There is a good amount of typos, and actually in the dedication of the second book, you have been there to help me feed plod bunnies. So like, that kind of annoys me. Like, I don't like seeing typos in stories. It happens, it's inevitable. But that's also kind of an impossible expectation, where there's never going to be a manuscript that's edited perfectly and getting into print without a single error. But I just noticed more errors than I typically do in published novels, so that kind of takes me out of the story sometimes. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Really happy that I have the sequel, so I can just really get into the romance part, because I just kind of needed like a turn off my brain vampire romance, because I just love like becoming part of that like fantasy world, and now there's being more of an introduction of other kinds of fantasy characters, or I guess supernatural was better. I always get confused sometimes as to what's fantasy and what's supernatural. I think this is more in the supernatural than the fantasy realm, but I'm very excited to finish the sequel. So that was my thoughts on Kindling Flames, Gathering Tinder. Is that the first one? Yeah. And the second one is Flying Sparks. I haven't finished Flying Sparks yet, but make sure to keep track on my Goodreads, because I'm updating as I go, and I do have a review up already of Kindling Flames. So I will see you guys very soon. Don't forget that kindness is the best accessory. Be the author of your own story. Make sure to follow me on social media for more updates on books, pregnancy. If you missed my last update, I am 6 months pregnant. Whew! It's getting in the way of things. It's making things harder. So check out my last video if you want to know a little bit more about what pregnant life has been like for me. And don't forget to follow on social media for even more of that. I'll be having more book videos, lifestyle videos, pregnancy videos, all that coming up soon, so make sure to subscribe. And of course, check out down below the Loving Them Books link so that you can see how to enter this giveaway and all the other information that you'll need to purchase Gathering Tinder if it's something you want to try. And I'll be back soon with more videos. Bye.